Okay, everyone finish up their test? Pre-test?
Yeah.
Okay, and we'll test back on this information later on in the week. I'll need you guys to get your packets out of the first drawer on the New Deal reading. We're gonna start reading about it today. Okay, we're gonna start reading about the New Deal today. So who would like to open up the reading? Okay, go ahead. Listen up, guys.
As the 1932 election drew near, the Republicans nominated Herbert Hoover to run for a second term. Democrats chose the governor of New York, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, as their candidate. To many, Hoover seemed cold and helpless in the face of the country's misery. Even though Roosevelt came from a wealthy family, he seemed to care about ordinary citizens. His beaming smile radiated confidence and optimism.
Okay, just from that first paragraph, what do you notice about FDR compared to Hoover? What we talk about Hoover in our last reading? Yeah.
Hoover thought it would just repair itself.
And he didn't. And he didn't want to do what? He didn't want to help the needy, but instead of fix on its own, right? And what about FDR? What do you know about him just based off this first paragraph?
That he wants to try to help people because they're more he's talking about how he did so many acts.
There you go. Very good. That's what we're going to talk about today. Next paragraph, Ms. McCauley, you want to read?
Roosevelt related the country's hardships to his own experiences when he became paralyzed by polio at the age of 39. Once I spent 2 years laying in bed, he said, trying to move my big toe. That was the hardest job I ever had to do. After that, anything else was easy. Roosevelt won the election by a landslide.
Okay, so he was pledging a new deal for the American people. At this point in time, people didn't really know what that meant, but they really appreciated that he was going to try to step up and fix what happened from the Depression. Why do you guys think he won by a landslide? Mr. Tibbs?
Won by a lot.
Yeah, but why do you think he won by a lot? Think back to our reading. Yeah, people were fed up with Hoover not trying to help the needy and relieve them, and they felt that Roosevelt was going to do that for them. Okay, the first 100 days, who wants to read that? We talked about the radio that was becoming more of a luxury for people, buying them and bringing them into their homes to listen to. So President Roosevelt, he used that to his advantage and would address the public. And what was the word that we used to describe how he addressed the public? Hunter? What was the term it was called? No. Yeah, his fireside chats, that's what it became known as. He would use the radio as an outlet to reach these people, and it says that it was as if they were sitting around the living room fireplace just having a normal conversation.
For that number of days, this legislation, along with laws passed later on, established programs with 3 goals: immediate relief, immediate economic recovery, and reform intended to keep such problems from developing in the future. Together, these programs became known as the New Deal.
Okay, so in its first 100 days, all the programs that Congress established became part of Roosevelt's New Deal, as it says there. What was the 3 goals that Roosevelt wanted in his programs? Hunter.
Immediate relief,
Okay.
immediate economic recovery, and reform intended to keep such problems from developing in the future.
Okay, so his programs dealt with relief, recovery, and reform. Okay, so that's talking about what type of program? So the FERA, what type of program is that? Based on the 3 categories. So that's a relief one then. What was it established to do?
Give money to states to help them provide food assistance to people who need it.
Okay, so that set up, they would get money and that would help establish the government to provide food for the people who were struggling to feed themselves. The civilian.
Civilian Conciliation Corps paid young men of all backgrounds to work for the environmental improvement projects, like replanting forests, draining swamps, and fighting fires. I really enjoyed it, said one man. I had 3 wonderful square meals a day. You learn that everybody here is equal.
Okay, so the CCC, what did it do? Yeah.
Created men to work for the environmental project.
Okay, and they replanted forests, drained swamps, and fought fires, right? So for the first time, people were like, getting back to work through these programs. And there was a quote that said, I had 3 wonderful square meals a day. You learned here that everyone was equal. So as these programs were establishing, people were getting back to work and getting a little bit back on their feet, and were even able to have food.
States received funds to aid people who were temporarily unemployed.
Okay, so it says one of the most lasting parts of the New Deal was the Social Security Act. What did that do? Yeah. So what did the Social Security Act do? Okay, so once they got to a certain age where they couldn't work, this was Joe Money. It's like the flapper and the hobo Joe that you guys did. I don't know if you guys didn't understand what I was saying last time, but make sure when you answer these in the word bank, make sure 1 goes in each out of the 6, and relate back to what we talked about in this. Don't just tell me with my ears I heard the fireside chats. Tell me a little bit more about that. You could say President Roosevelt's fireside chats talking about reforms that he did. Okay guys, listen up. I need everyone's attention real quick. For everyone who's in here, if you have your Joe Money worksheet to turn in, your notes on page 152 and 154, already glued in. If you guys do not have the notes, let me know and I'll give them to you. Page 152, 154. That's it. Does anybody not have the notes? Ms. Brown, you should be okay for the 152. Okay, we went over a lot of the first page of notes in our reading, so I just highlighted a couple important information that you guys will need for your test. And if you guys need to scoot closer, you're more than welcome to sit here to copy down what you need to highlight. The last thing you guys need to highlight is the 100 days. What happened in FDR's first 100 days will be talking about Thursday. They passed how many bills?
Over 100.
No. What's it say on there? 50. They passed 15 major programs, and that deals with what I have up here, the relief, reform, and recovery programs. Soup kitchens provided free soup and coffee to the unemployed. We talked about how those were coming about in cities, and how I think in New York it said 85,000 people were served. The Organization Act has restored traditional form of tribal government. We also have the Dust Bowl at the bottom, but we're gonna wait to do that tomorrow because I have an activity and a worksheet plan for that. So once you have this highlighted, your notes will be okay. Okay, we're doing the ABCs of the New Deal programs. In your notes, there's a few programs it talks about that will help you with this, but also in your packets that we read, it'll have every single program. So if you wanna get those out, they're in the top period or top drawer around your group tables. Look up what FDIC, AAA, CCC, PWA, SEC, NRA, TVA, and FERA mean. So you'll find those acronyms in there, and you'll first tell me the complete name of the program. Next, you'll tell me whether it was a relief, reform, or recovery program, and then lastly, you'll tell me in your own words, what the program did. Like I said, in your packets and stuff, it'll tell you exactly what type of program it was, but I also put a cheat sheet up here for you. Yeah. Relief, anything to do with relief will be, they gave financial aid to the needy and created jobs. For reform, that's where they fix financial systems like banks and stock markets. And then recovery, that's where they fix the economy, Dust Bowl handout in the middle. If you do not have one, raise your hand and I'll be there to read this handout today and then do an activity at the end where you'll have to tell me 3 causes and 3 effects of what happened during the Dust Bowl. So I'll try to point you in the right direction and I'll show you an example at the end of what I'm expecting in this.
It's cut off on mine.
Okay, you want me to continue reading there then?
Yeah, 'cause
Okay.
mine's cut off.
Okay. So they're encouraged by expanding railroads and real estate speculators. Thousands of people rushed to the Great Plains to take up Homestead, Bonfield tells JS, but he adds they really didn't know what they were doing. The worst thing that settlers did was to plow up the area's buffalo grass to plant wheat. So that's gonna be the first cause of this Dust Bowl. People who moved in there tore up the grounds that was already on and they took out buffalo grass. They were planting wheat because that was like a big thing for World War I in order to feed our soldiers and things, make bread out of. And after World War I and the Depression hit, these farms suffered because people couldn't afford to get the wheat.
Live with the dust, eat it, sleep with it, watch it strip us of possessions and hope of.
Dust was so thick that people were breathing this in, and it led to a thing called dust pneumonia. I couldn't imagine having to breathe that in. People were getting sick and even dying. Okay, the last 3 paragraphs, who would like to read? You go ahead and finish up.
The crisis didn't pass until the end of the 1930s. New Deal programs, along with universities and farmers, developed methods to fight soil erosion. The federal government resorted millions of acres to grass. Finally, in 1939,
New Deal programs were established to help these farmers. Can anybody remember what that program was? Yes. No, not quite. They did help farmers, but that was to get less things being planted and less animals. Aid you wrote.
It was like something called the Soil Conservation Corps or something.
SDS, yep. The Soil Conservation Service, that's very good. They came in and they planted trees to break up the soil, or to break up the winds and to help hold down the soil. So luckily Roosevelt had a plan to help these farmers so that we would never return and have an event as bad as the Dust Bowl. Everyone have a sheet count. Okay, so make sure your name's on it. The top 3, you're gonna list the causes of the Dust Bowl, and then at the bottom you will list the effects after those causes. So we talked about how the buffalo grass was pulled up, right? That started the cause of the Dust Bowl. So what you're going to want to do is draw 3 pictures and explain what happened. This example we pulled up the buffalo grass, so we just drew grass. You guys can add a farmer or someone in there pulling up the grass. Next, because of World War I, there was an overproduction of wheat, and that led to farmers losing money because the Great Depression occurred, and they had to leave their farm because they didn't have work to be able to discuss that occurred. And we talked about the dust pneumonia, how it had a huge impact on farmers and families. It was killing their children because they were breathing in this dust. And then lastly, because all this occurred, the New Deal called for replanting of buffalo grass, and the SCS stepped in and told farmers what they needed to do in their practice so this would not occur again. So that's just what I'm kind of looking for. Just be creative with it, and if you guys get done early with it, feel free to color it before you turn it in.